Okay.
Okay, yeah, of course, yeah. No, that's fine.
You work back for your chicken with
Yeah, it is. It's,
your own experiments.
the camera's still rolling.
Oh, bless her.
That's it, clap to your face.
Oh, Liverpool are playing. Not that I enjoy watching them at the moment.
You said it before, but I wasn't expecting you as well, you know.
Okay.
Probably about 10 years ago now, we went to some friends for Sunday lunch and they served us a gin and tonic. And it was the first gin and tonic that had been served really nicely. And that, for me, I didn't even know I liked gin and tonic until we tried it from there. It was a Bombay Sapphire, and I remember them pouring it out of this beautiful blue bottle and being slightly disappointed that it wasn't blue, but loved the drink. And I think it was from then I started to try gins. Then Carl started the Facebook group Gin and Tonic Friday.
Every Friday night, Carl would get home from work and he'd make him and Kathy a gin and tonic. And they'd put it on this Facebook page that Carl started for him and his friends to share what gins they were drinking.
It didn't even put that much effort into it. It was just people just posted their pictures on a Friday night of gin and tonic. And that was it. That was literally it. And and people commented on the photo, talked about the gin, and that was it really. It wasn't, even a live thing. It was just, and then people had to vote on which was their favourite photograph, and then the winner got a bottle of gin, or to start with, a miniature of Bombay Sapphire.
And it slowly grew as people became aware of gin, as it increased in popularity. People started sending them gin. Companies would say, try our gin and put it on your page. When this page had grown to about 20,000 followers, Carl was having a martini one
Friday afternoon. We were trying yet another gin, and it just seemed it just twigged something in my mind that was too many of them tasted the same.
Carl just made a comment one Friday night, let's make our own gin.
I think the words actually were, I could do better than this, but
Ever since I met Carl, he's always said things and then, usually followed it through and, done what he's talked about doing. So, no, it was exciting to start it. I think one of my first comments was that, if I leave my job, even if it's just, me leaving my job and it's like a part-time fun thing that we do, that's as far as I could see it going. But obviously, Carl had other ideas.
As the research distiller, I basically work on trying to find the best flavours and the best botanicals to go into the gin and trying to perfect the recipes so that they taste as good as they possibly can taste. It involves a lot of running trials of botanicals and seeing how they distill, putting in different parameters, seeing how heat affects the flavour that we get out, or how different starting alcohol percentage would affect the flavour that comes out in the end, and how different botanicals work with each other and how that translates to the taste that people get.
Kathy bought me a little 1 litre still for my birthday one year when we decided we were going to make our own. And the children, bless them, bought me a 1 litre bottle of cheap vodka so I could redistill the vodka. And the first distillation was in our kitchen, wired up to the taps.
Carl probably knew that we'd never actually do the distilling ourselves, that we needed experts in that field, but I think it was just learning, the process ourselves. We were just excited about it. I don't think we told anyone to start with. I think we did a little bit of research and found out where we could we found a distillery in Cambridge to make our first batch for us, sent samples back and forward and did tasting, and then it became real. We arranged to see a guy from Goulthorpe, which is just up the road from us, to do a logo for us, and that for me brought the whole thing to life, really.
My name's Liam Jackson and I'm the lead distiller here at Masons of Yorkshire. I make all the gin, all the products that we sell. The process itself is fairly straightforward. I'll put in a mix of alcohol and water, which is at 57% ABV, pump it into the still. I'll add the botanicals, which is, depending on the recipe, the juniper and everything like that, put it into the still, then I'll turn the still on and then it heats itself up. As the vapours go up, they go through the still, the column, and then they get to the condenser. And it's when they get to the condenser, when the cold water in the condenser cools the vapours back down, that's what makes them back into liquid. And at that point it starts coming off. It takes about an hour, and then you collect something called the heads, which is high volatile alcohols, and they don't taste very good. And you taste test that until you start getting the harshness disappears off the alcohol. It's still at high percent, it's still at 84%, so it still tastes of high alcohol, but it just doesn't taste harsh. And then we collect that, and that's our hearts. And then as the process goes on, the alcohol level drops. You're boiling stuff for hours and hours and hours, and eventually you start getting flavours that you don't like. So again, it's taste test. So when we start getting flavours through that we don't like, we stop collecting that. That's called tails, which is waste alcohol as well. So we're only collecting like a small portion of highest quality alcohol that we can get. And then we reduce that down to bottling strength. So for Masons, it's 42%. So we add water over 5 days until we reduce that liquid down from about 84% to 42%. So after I've reduced it down to bottling strength, I'll have to taste test it and sign it off.
I've never worked anywhere where people are genuinely like a family, more so than here. A lot of people are employed from the local area, and a lot of people hang out outside of work, look after each other's kids.
And I don't think neither of us would want to work somewhere that wasn't like that. I think it would be the time to stop if we weren't. I don't think it would be a great place to work if everyone didn't feel as involved and part of the team.
It genuinely is like a community, and I think that ethos and what they've cultivated at Masons helps the morale and helps the motivation, because we share our brand vision, we share the massive hunger we've got for growing over the next 2 or 3 years.
It all comes from Carl and Kathy's sort of like attitude towards making gin from the beginning. I think the whole company's found around the concept of making high quality gin.
He wants quality. He knows his business delivers quality, and he wants us to continue that. He doesn't want us to rest on our laurels and just be like, oh, okay's enough. It's got to be good. So when we're creating new recipes, it can be quite hard to get him to see my point of view. But at the same time, that's good because he's pushing me to be better and pushing me to produce the best I can. It's got his name on the bottle at the end of the day, and he knows it has to be high quality.
So the bottling process is, as it says, it's bottling the gin. At the start of it, you'd load your bottles onto the line. They'd go through an air rinser first, so that would clear out any debris that could potentially have got in the bottles, so it makes sure everything's nice and cleared out. It goes through to the filler, where it'll fill up your gin to the right levels. We've got 4 pistons that'll do that, and it'll take it to a certain level, and obviously you can control the speed it comes down, the speed it fills up the bottles, and then the level, the amount of alcohol that goes into it. It goes on a bit further, and it goes through to the corker. And then from that point, it's the labeler, which is all done through a sensor, picks up the notch in the bottle and then applies the label.
Kathy and I were getting ready for work. It was probably about 8 o'clock in the morning.
I had wet hair. You were just jumping out the shower.
And we just got a phone call, and it was Amber. And I answered the phone, and she just said, Carl, the distillery's on fire, and it's big.
And we just literally pulled on our clothes.
Straight into the car. Kathy and I turned the corner from our house. A mile away in the distance, you could see the smoke. And then you just sort of a bit numb, sort of watching your work burning, really.
Once you know that everybody's okay, and everybody's out, you can take a bit of a deep breath.
We never thought we couldn't survive it. We'd launched the business from nothing. We'd lost everything, but we had customers. So all we had to do was, start making product again, and we knew we already had some customers and a brand name. The hardest thing was trying to find some premises, so we didn't want to go 5 miles away, 10 miles away, so we launched our search just within Beedale. We extended it a mile. We're in Leeming Bar now, which is literally, it's 1.5 miles out of Beedale. Everything's just a hurdle, isn't it? And hurdles are just there to work your way around it.
So the gin market in the UK is absolutely massive. It's been under a huge boom for the last 10 years. There's now 560 distilleries in the UK. That's double 4 years ago. And we're consuming 86 million bottles of gin a year. And you can easily get lost in that. So I think the fact that Carl's stayed true to making gin the way he likes, which is the best quality, is the best thing he could have done. Many of our competitors over the years have gone down the route of adding sugared syrups or flavours or colours to their gins, and there's been a big fad in kind of pink gin and coloured gins. You won't see us with a kind of coloured liquid with sugar syrups or flavouring.
We're trying to push the boundaries of what traditional gin can be, but not in a way in which turns it into like a gimmick. Yeah, we're trying to make the best proper gin.
But the thing that Carl and Kathy stand really strong for is the fact that if they won't drink it, they won't produce it. And it won't go in a Mason's bottle if they wouldn't drink it themselves. And I think that's something that is prohibitive for our growth, but in a really beautiful way, because it means we stand fast to our authentic roots and we stand fast for what we believe in.
I make a product that people enjoy. You crack open a bottle of Mason's when you're celebrating or when you're wanting a nice Friday, Saturday night, you're wanting to relax and you're using it to unwind. So I want to make the best product for you to take home and you to enjoy.
It's such a clean, pure spirit that we make here. It's no compromises, it really is. It is gin as it should be to its highest quality. And I think people realise that.
Why do a gin business? Isn't it great to just have a business that's involved in something you enjoy? I enjoy drinking gin, so why not make it as well?
I think the nicest thing is going into the co-op in Beedale and seeing it there. Yeah.